Annual planning that actually works. It's that time of year again where we're thinking about how to annual plan. And today we're going to talk about why most businesses fall short. Now, it's a different beast when you have a team and you're not just a solopreneur picking a number out of thin air and hoping the best, for the best that you hit it. This is where you have to not just pick this number and pick it confidently with data that actually is going to back it, with evidence it's going to be possible. And you need to be able to roll it out to your team and get them convinced that yes, this in fact is doable. It's going to be easy. We have a plan. Here's the roadmap and here's what we're shooting for. So that's what this series is going to be about. Not just how do you, the business owner, start to attack these goals, but how do you actually enroll people on your team to go after it as well. Now, if you're a successful business owner and you have big dreams for the next 6 months, 12 months, and you have a team ranging from maybe just two, maybe it's you and one other person, or maybe you've got 100 plus employees, this training series is going to be for you. Now, to make sure that this year is different, we created something we're calling the Ultimate Profit Plan. So it is a 9-week free course. We've never done this before. And it's a 9-week free course we're rolling out for you, the business owner, and your key players. So when I say key players, at first I was saying bring your leaders. Well, I remember back in the day, I didn't have leaders. I didn't have official titles that I was giving certain people, but I definitely had a few key players, some right hands, people that I really trusted, people that I saw us growing the business together. So when you're thinking about who should I bring into the series and have them actually watch with, I want you thinking about somebody that you want to invest in, because even though this is free, you're not investing money, you're investing time. And you might be having somebody actually doing this on the clock while they're working. And if that's the case, you are paying right for it. So I want to make sure that it's worth their time. If this is somebody that you see could be with you for a long time, invite them to start watching. We're going to dive in over 9 weeks together. Okay. So video 1, just so you know, has already been dropped. And it is all about annual planning. Team, if we could get the link to video 1 in the comments, that would be amazing. All right. Now, how many of you have already done your annual planning? Tell me in the chat. Okay. How many of you are like, I've thought about it. I have the numbers. I haven't written it down. Like, what stage are you in? Comment below and let me know. All right. Now, here's what you can expect in this Ultimate Profit Plan. So this is 9 weeks to operational excellence. Now, why 9 weeks? Honestly, because I have 9 very specific topics that I want to talk about. So that's where the number 9 came from. Every Thursday, I'm going to be dropping a new training for you to watch with your team. So Thursday morning, it's going to be there. So tomorrow morning, week 1, right? I kind of have like a pre-video, and then tomorrow is officially week 1 is going to drop. It is going to be something you can watch at any time. So what I would do is get this scheduled on your calendar and shoot a message out to your team to watch it on their own time. So as you're watching it, take notes, write down questions, because every week I'm going to come back with a Q&A, and I'm going to be here live with you like I am right now. So if you have questions, start blowing up the chat. That is what we're here for today. Now, from there, in the live trainings every week, what I'm going to do is, so even today, I still have some training that I'm going to teach, even though it's a live Q&A. I've got some training, and starting next week on the live, I will actually have an actionable workbook for you every single week for 9 weeks. The only way to snag those workbooks is to show up live. I will give you the link. And in those workbooks, it's going to be a recap of that week's training. So I know I talk fast. I know I go through a ton of content. You're going to get to, you can take notes, and I suggest you take notes, but then the following week on that live training, you're going to get the recap to keep forever, right? You can download it, put it in a folder somewhere on your desktop or on the cloud somewhere. And that this is something you could do every single year with your team, or maybe even in the summer, if times are, maybe money's a little slower in the summer, right? You're a seasonal business. You could redo this and kind of regain some momentum. Okay. In that workbook, I will also have the week's team objectives. So things to actually get done this week. I'm going to help coach you for free for the next 9 weeks. Okay. If you already caught video 1, let me know in the comments. I'm curious. And then questions you have on it, on annual planning in general, any questions you have, start posting them in the chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to talk about a few reasons why most annual planning doesn't work. Okay. Why most annual planning doesn't work. And it's one of those things where I just erased my 2024 goals off my whiteboard right over here, and I'm about to put 2025s on there. One of the very key things that I do is I'm always staring at it. I'm always talking about it. The team is always bringing up these numbers. Okay. So if you have an idea, you know what you want to do, you want to hit 1 million or you want to do whatever it is, right? I don't want you just to think about it. I want you to actually write it down and have it set in stone. I had to, on my whiteboard, usually on a whiteboard, you just take your eraser and erase it. That has been sitting there for 12 months. I couldn't erase it. It was like glued to the board. I had to go get a spray and scrub it off. I hope that is where we are in a year from now with you, because these goals are set in stone. Okay, Autumn, amazing. She just had her annual planning session yesterday. So this will be good because it's okay that you've already done it. Now you get to go, where could I make it even better? How do I make sure it sticks? So number one, I would say one of the biggest reasons they don't work or it doesn't stick is lack of specificity. What do I mean? Okay. So Naomi just said, I started planning, I have numbers, but I feel overwhelmed. So we're going to get there, Naomi. So stick with me on that. I'm going to show you how to be less overwhelmed. All right. So many people set really just vague goals like, oh, I just want to be bigger next year. I want to increase sales. I want to have a better brand reputation. But what does that mean? Right? Because we forget who we were a year ago, right? We just pulled up our January numbers from last January, 2024. And it is unbelievable what success looked like for us a year ago and what it looks like today. So if you would have told me some of those numbers, like I might not feel like literally January 6th, Monday, I was like feeling a little behind. I'm like, get it together, Stacy. It is January 6th. How in the world can I feel behind already? Have you already had that feeling of like, I already am missing some of these daily non-negotiables? Like, what am I doing? Why am I missing this? Right? I've already had that feeling too. And my point is if you don't start to be very, very specific and have it written down, a place you see it every single day, right? You're going to forget and you're not even going to take credit for where you're winning. So we want to get very specific and we want it written down. Now, Naomi said, I'm getting overwhelmed here. Okay. And honestly, that's usually because we want to do so much. I attract usually like powerhouses, people that want to really build something meaningful. And they have a lot of ideas and they're visionaries and they set 1 million goals, right? It's not just like they have one big goal or two big goals, right? So when I want you thinking about this annual plan, I said to the team Monday when I rolled out my vision for them, is I said, listen, there's a lot of things we're going to do this year, but the one thing you need to remember is we're changing 1,200 small business owners' lives. That's it. That's the only goal you have to remember and think about. 1,200 is our critical number. My gosh, my dog is like crushing through these doors. So with that said, if you're overwhelmed, it could be because you have 1 million things you're thinking you want to get done. How do we just go, what's one thing I want to do? What is one big initiative? Okay. So when you set too many goals, what happens is we have these big ideas and we're going to do all of these things, but we run out of time. And then these 12 big ideas really were like very small, mediocre projects that we did. And honestly, it didn't produce a lot. So then this big idea and ends up having small results. So how can you go big with like 1 or 2 or 3 things, right? Instead of trying to do 12 things, 15 things, and you're already feeling behind and overwhelmed, like this isn't going to happen. So I really, really want you, like I had so many to-dos that I wanted to get done in all of our departments. And we did our annual planning back in December and my marketing list was, 25 things. And we walked out of there with like 3 to 5. And that's hard for me because I want to do so much. But I also know that if we bite off more than we can chew, it's just not going to work out the way that I want to. So it's going to take discipline. Put the word discipline right now in the comments. It is going to take discipline to say, that's a great idea, but not right now. That's a great idea, but it's going to go in the parking lot, right? Maybe next year, maybe that's Q4, maybe that's 2026, right? So I really want to make sure you are thinking about being in control of what you say yes to and in control of what you say no to. Okay. So don't spread yourself too thin. Pick just one or two big things to get done this year. Okay. The third one of the problems is inadequate planning. It's all in the preparation, right? It's all in the preparation. So if you are, deciding we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but you aren't specifically giving yourself the proper amount of time to plan, right? If you're like, okay, I want to do this thing and I'm going to do it for February 1st, it's like, it's already January 8th. Do you even have 3 weeks to get this ready to go? Is it something where if you pushed out that big project to March, it would just be better, right? You would just be able to put so much more into it. So one of the things we're doing this year is we're rebranding. We've got a new logo, new colors, new fonts, you name it. And I really want a new website yesterday. But that's not as simple. Like, how many of you have built a website and you're like, it's a nightmare. It takes forever. It's like months and months and months, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And I said to the team, as much as we're going to have to sit and, hate this old website, it's probably not going to happen until Q3, right? Again, it's that discipline of saying, I want it, but I'm going to have to wait, and giving myself proper time to research, right? Who do I want to build this website? Do I have the right person? Do I have the right ideas? Have I researched other people to figure out what I like and what I don't like and all of that, versus if I'm just rushing, right? A rushing business is not going to hit the scale and the ease as you're scaling. Okay. So good. So number 4 is reasons that annual plans don't work. Poor financial management. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Okay. So how many of you budgeting looks like, I want it. Let me go check my bank account. It's in there. Let's do it. I did that for a long time. Okay. And that would get me into trouble because all of a sudden I would go, oh, shoot, I forgot the credit card comes out in 4 days and I don't really have $25,000 in there. It's about to take 16,000, right? Holy cow. I did that for so long because I didn't have that financial management skills. So you might have a beautiful plan in place. You know exactly what you want to do and where you want to go, but it's going to take money to get there. And if we don't start to properly think about budgeting, right, we're going to have big issues. So that's another one is understanding that everything you do, you've got to be cash flow focused. I spend a lot of money, but I do it in a way that is intentional. And it's because I believe I'm going to get it back, and I'm going to get it back in a quick manner, right? Like if I were to buy an online course or a program or something, I go in that program as fast as I can to immediately get the money back, because I don't want to invest like $2,000, $5,000, $25,000 into a program and then have to wait 10 months to get 25,000 back, right? Like I want to get it back that first week or the first 30 days. So if I make a big hire, I'm going to say to myself, how do I get this person to pay for themselves in 30 days? Because I don't want to be out cash flow. And the problem is we spend money in so many different areas that the one hire that doesn't pay for themselves, and then the one software you sign up for, but you don't use for 6 months, and then the one, fill in the blank, all of these things start to drain your resources. And pretty soon your plan is out the window. How many of you I don't know how long you've been in business, but have experienced this at some point, probably in the very beginning, right? Maybe you're keeping some of these bad habits because you just don't know how to get out of it. And it's just what you've been doing. So you keep doing it, right? And that has been me for many years. Okay. So trust me when I say, even if you're there, you can get out of it, right? It's just good to recognize what you're doing specifically. All right. Number 5, lack of accountability, right? So number 1, I think there's a couple things that you could be doing for better accountability. Accountability it's so hard for yourself as the business owner, right? I mean, I can say I'm going to do anything, but no one's going to hold me accountable, right? So one of the things you can do as the owner is to tell your team, hey, we're going to do this, right? Hey, I'm working on not being available 24/7. So if you catch me checking my email whatever it is, right? A million times and responding to within like 5 minutes. Could you just like call me out? I give you full permission just to say, hey, Stacy, you said you weren't going to do, XYZ, right? That would be so helpful. So ask your team for accountability. Okay. Now, with that said, as you are looking at rolling out your annual plan, how are you holding the team accountable? Okay. James, I will recap all of these at the end. Okay. So with that said, you can do, what is the team structure? So get your org chart out. Who reports to who? Does that make sense? Who reports to who? And do you have direct reports? Do they know who they are actually going to report to? And is that person holding them accountable? So that's going to be massive. Having regular one-on-ones. Okay. Regular one-on-ones. So what does this mean specifically? So you want to make sure, okay, that as we're doing this, you are having that direct report, meet with that individual and actually saying, where are we at with this project? Okay. Where are we at with this? I know I assigned this last week. Fill me in with the status of this project. Okay. And then external coaching could be another good one. That is how I would say I am held accountable. For me, every other Friday, I have to report to my coach. Like I always have a coach. I report to my coach every other Friday, bi-weekly, and I say the status of my top 5 goals. And that is really, really good accountability for me. Without that, I think that would be really, really difficult. Okay. Number 6. Okay. And April asked, is there going to be a presentation or am I just listening, taking notes? So April, today's kind of like a bonus kickstart. This is more like chapter or like lesson 0. Tomorrow drops our first lesson. And then every week on my lives, you're going to walk away with a juiced up, beautiful workbook with everything I'm saying in written form. So you're going to get this content where you can keep it, save it. And then there's going to be action items. All right. So today's more of just like an overview of what you're thinking about. And then moving forward, you're going to get one every single week for 9 weeks. Okay. So and I'll recap real quick. So number 1, lack of specificity. Okay. Number 2, setting too many goals. Number 3, inadequate planning. Number 4, poor financial management. Thanks for posting that in the chat. I appreciate it. Number 5, if somebody wants to post this one in the chat, lack of accountability. If anybody can post those, that would be so helpful for anybody who is not able to keep up with me. Okay, amazing. So Cecilia just said, I just purchased your book. Thank you. I'm so excited to hear that. So Cecilia, we have a really cool bonus for anybody that leaves an honest review of the book on Amazon, and you just screenshot it and send it to me on a DM at Stacy Tuschl on Instagram. Bella, can we, well, I obviously not going to post the bonus because it's for those that screenshot it, but the bonus, you guys, oh my gosh, can somebody on my team remind me the title of the bonus? It's basically how to make more money in like every single department of your business. It is the most insane bonus. And it's the only way you'll ever be able to get it is by leading a review. Now, let's say you bought my book 2 years ago and you left a review 2 years ago. Go screenshot that review and still put it in there, and we're going to give it to you. So it's probably one of the coolest things that we did with it. This is for the well-oiled book and that. Okay, so let's go to number 6. How are we doing so far? Are these clicking? Are you starting to see where maybe you thought, okay, you know what? This is a downfall for us. We've got too many goals listed. I already know this is overwhelming. Maybe I need to go back to the team and I need to just tell them the top 3 instead of 12. Okay. All right. So then number 6, unrealistic expectations, right? I'm a big dreamer and you probably are too. Okay. However, if you say crazy goals and throw them out at your team and they don't believe you, the team will not have buy-in and you will lose credibility. Okay. So you want to make sure as you are annual planning, you are showing the team, here is what we're going to need to do to hit these numbers. And here is where we've been with this data. And here's why I believe we're going to be able to go from this per week to that per week, right? And all of a sudden, what's going to happen is you are going to have the team buy in and believe you. If you do not get buy-in, if they do not believe you, no one is going to have the intensity or the intentionality of actually getting these goals done because they think you're crazy. Okay. We want to make sure that when you say, this is our critical number for next year, this is what we're shooting for, this is where we're heading, that they're like, yes, 1000%. And I know we're going to get there. Okay. So that's going to be huge. All right. Number 7, failure to adapt. So many businesses fail to adjust if something is not working. So I'll share with you how do I say this? The less experienced you are with setting goals and achieving them, right? You're still in the experimental phase. So one year, a few years ago, we set a goal of, I remember like 240 was our critical number. Okay. Critical number just means we have a bestseller, one thing that we're known for, and we wanted to make sure that we were serving 240 people with this offer. Okay. We hit that. This was our annual goal. We hit it by March 31st. Okay. Now you might be like, wow, that's amazing. Congrats. What that tells me is I just wasn't that experienced in setting goals based off of history and data. Okay. So first, you might very quickly realize like, whoa, we are doing really good this year and we're going to hit this number way faster. And what typically business owners want to do is they want to immediately go, hey guys, I know we said we were shooting for this, but we're going to hit that. So we just upped it to this. Don't do that. Okay. What you want to do is keep the original goal and crush it and celebrate when you do. And once you celebrate and hit it, that's when you say to the team, all right, who's ready for the next challenge? And you get them excited because what happens is if you just keep moving the milestone, right? And they just never get to hit it, they're going to feel really, really defeated. Okay. So failure to adapt, sometimes you have to let them hit it and then readjust. Now, I've also been in a situation where I set a number. Last year was actually that year. We set a number of 700. And again, if you're like, what is this number? We're going to talk more about this next week. Actually, tomorrow, you're going to get Thursday's video is going to drop and it's going to be all about, this is going to be in there. Okay. So anyway, we set a number of 700 and by month 1, we were like, whoa, this is not as easy as we thought this year. I don't think we're going to hit 700 based off of January's numbers, but we didn't change it. Month 2, just as bad. Okay. This happened for 6 months. 6 months in, the leaders and I are looking at each other like, this might not actually happen. Okay. Now, what I will say is we did not at any moment take that 700 away and say, actually, let's just do 300 because it doesn't look like we're going to hit it. Right. We just kept it. And we kept saying, this is a mindset. Whether we hit it or not, we are going to behave as this kind of company. Put in the chat right now, mindset, because you are going to have to make sure your team understands that. Whether or not we hit that goal, we are going to act and behave like that. Because what happens if you just lower it is it's like, whew, okay, we can breathe. We can breathe. She lowered the goal by half. No, because think about it. You're working your butt off and you're not hitting the number. And then you lower the number. What does that make your team think? It makes your team think like, okay, we can take our foot off the gas a little bit. She's making this a little bit more realistic. And I said to the team, I want to really stop for a minute and ask ourselves, why are we hitting this? And who do we need to be to hit it? Okay. And we had that conversation. Now, one thing you can do is instead of just like throwing that number in their face constantly, like you're behind, we're not hitting it, we're not on target, because we do that, right? Start to chunk it down a little less. So let's say, this is what I would probably do. I would go 700 divided by 12, 58. I would start monthly going, all right, guys, how do we hit 58? That feels a whole lot better than showing them that they are at 150 and they're trying to hit 700. Okay. So chunk it down, but keep the goal. All right. Now, let me tell you the end result as we're in January right now. The end result was we hit 715. Like June, I would have told you this is not even kind of looking possible. But because we kept the mindset of we are going to be the person, the business that plays at this level, it ended up working out in our like in our favor. Okay. So that is 2 ways you want to be adapting to either overshooting or undershooting. Okay. So number 8, neglecting customer experience. Okay. This is a big one. Why would I bring this up when we're talking about annual planning? Well, because if you give really bad, poor customer service and customer experience, it can actually derail you way further, because when you are setting your annual plan, you're thinking about the business you have, right? But if you're all of a sudden just focused on money and profit and dollars in your bank account, and you forget about the customers you're serving, they're not going to keep paying you. And your annual plan is going to completely fall apart when you do this. Does that make sense? Can you say yes in the chat if that makes sense? This is going to be huge because you weren't doing the math on customers necessarily like leaving. You are thinking, okay, if I keep these people and I get more people, this plan's going to work out great. But if you neglect your customer, that plan is not going to be happening the way you envisioned it. Okay. Oh, True Health said this one hits home. Yeah. And you guys, it happens all the time. And here's the thing. I know I attract these people that have the best of intentions and want to serve, but I also know that you are high achievers and you are goal oriented and you just want to hit the next goal to challenge yourself. And sometimes we sacrifice the product, we sacrifice the customer experience, and we want to be really, really careful. Okay. Number 9, and then I'll give an overview of the 9-week course of what we're going to be seeing. Okay. So number 9 is ignoring market demand. So some businesses set goals without actually assessing where are we heading? What does the market need? What does the market want? And if you don't, right, this is going to lead to wasted resources, missed opportunities. So you want to make sure you're doing your market research on, is this still going to be the product? So we talk about the best seller, right? And what is the thing you are known for? What is the thing you are going to focus on this year? What is the thing your customers are going to think about when they think of you? Okay. If you don't ask yourself, does my best seller need to change this year? How do I need to adapt to the market? What is the market asking for, right? There's a lot of things to be thinking about. So for instance, when I'm looking at just today's world, right? AI is something really, really huge right now. So I'm going to ask myself like, well, does AI impact anything I'm doing? And do I need it? Does it replace what I'm doing? How could it enhance what I'm doing? How could I use it in my product or with my team or things like that? So I want to just look at what is trendy, what is happening. I want to look down the line. So I don't know about you, but I'm 40. I am sometimes when like the new stuff comes out, I'm like, oh, I'll do that later. I'll look at that later. Do I really need to look at it? Right? Like when Chat GPT first came out and certain things, I was like, I don't really know if I need to do this. Right. But for us as business owners, we have to stay cutting edge. We need to at least know enough about it to say, is this something I should be looking into? Is this something I should be pouring into this year or having my team pour into it, right? So for instance, for us, our bestseller is not changing next year. Like we're still able to provide it. Nothing has like ruined that specifically. However, when I look at what's going on, I'm like, ooh, we get to use AI internally in a completely different way, right? Now, I will say it has enhanced our bestseller because there are things we get to teach that this is kind of shaken up the industry a little bit, right? And we get to bring that back. So for instance, we're doing a live event in 2 weeks. And one of the sessions we're teaching on is how we're using AI to basically take our current team and get like double the output from the same team, right? So that's certain things you want to be thinking about. Okay, number 10, and then I'll take any questions. So please blow up the chat if you have any questions, anything you want to make sure I answer or you hope I cover over the next 9 weeks, okay? So number 10, and this is the biggest one. Lack of consistent effort. Okay. So first, I don't know if you saw with the Golden Globes. I didn't watch it, but I saw on Instagram. I posted on my Instagram actually last night, Demi Moore and her acceptance speech. And she says how she's been in the industry for 45 years. And this was her first award ever. First award ever. It's almost hard to believe somebody as big as her, right? had never gotten an award. If you didn't listen to it, I would highly recommend it. Go to my Instagram, Stacy Tuschl. You'll see it posted there. But it just shows, like, if you just keep at it, right? When people say, I tried that, it didn't work. No, you just didn't try it long enough. You didn't adapt or like try it a different way or manipulate it, right? To see how it work and fit in your business. So you gave up too soon. So you really want to ask yourself, like, when I looked at my number, my goal of 700, and I wasn't anywhere near it, I could have slowed down my efforts, right? But in fact, I really increased my efforts to say, no, I want to get there, or at least get as close to it as possible. So what can you do? What are some daily non-negotiables that you are going to do to make sure you show up in your business and play full out? Okay, lots of questions in the chat. I will share with you all of the details. All right, so here's what we're doing, guys. For 9 weeks, I am dropping a video every single Thursday. Tomorrow kicks that off, okay? There already was like a pre-video I put out in December. And if you haven't watched it, it's all on annual planning. So today was what's supposed to be like an open Q&A on annual planning. But even when I come to one of these live trainings, I will be coming with a little bit of content that went off of what I just did. Okay. So tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping an on-demand training. So it's just going to be there. It's not live. And it's going to be all about using our same pager, really helping you clean up your strategic plan and setting your custom roadmap for the next 12 months. Even if you are inside of well-oiled operations and you're like, well, I don't know if I need this because I already have the training. I have really written this into like giving you just like 1 or 2 like juicy things for you to go, oh, did I do this right? Okay. Because we always update and refine, like we well oil our business. So I would still encourage any current clients, go watch this with your team and have the team ask yourself. Okay. So Thursdays are on-demand trainings. Wednesdays are open live Q&A. Does that make sense? Say yes in the chat. It's not that confusing. Thursdays are on-demand trainings. Wednesdays, and it's not every Wednesday. Sometimes it's Tuesday. So really watch the day and time. I'm going to be here live to do more coaching. Okay. All right. Annette, I feel like, where's her question? I feel like my business might be an outlier when it comes to a best-selling product. Greg and I have discussed that it can be the item with the best profit margins. I sew for interior designers. Okay. So let's just talk about picking that bestseller right now and really figuring out like, what does that mean? So a bestseller is your most profitable product, program, or service. It doesn't matter if you're a physical product person, if you're a digital product person, if you have a service, you're a CPA and you provide services, it doesn't matter. Every business should have something that they are specifically focused on. Now, I have children's dance, music, acting schools. We have a gazillion classes on the schedule, age 2 to 3, like 3 to 4. And then it was like ballet and tap, and then jazz, and then hip hop, and then there's private piano, and there's a million things, right? But if I look at the thing, like our bread and butter, like what really sells and is profitable and is something we need to make sure we're focused on, okay? It is, if I could do like a sub niche. So for instance, it's group dance classes for us. So we have dance, we have music, we have acting. Dance is by far the biggest. Now we have private dance, we have group dance. Group is obviously way more profitable than private. So when our team gets excited about, we should add this or we should do this, I'm like, listen, number one, have we maxed out what we are known for? Have we maxed out what is most profitable? So you want to make sure that you are really identifying the thing. Okay. So that's what I mean when even if you have a million things, right? I had a CPA say, we have so many things we could never, do that. I'm like, okay, we dialed it in and all of a sudden we're like, oh, your bestseller is when they buy the tax planning. But yeah, you could get bookkeeping services. You could get monthly like reconciliation and things like that. But the bestseller is get them to do the tax planning services. Okay. So if you want to kind of fill me in and tell me what you specifically do or what options you have, please let me know. Now, and that's, I'm known for customer service. That's great, but that's not your bestseller. What are you doing, right, that is giving them. So we want to figure out, like, if you're like, I sew, I do alterations. Okay, is it alterations on wedding dresses that are your bestseller, or is it literally just the day-to-day type of things where you're doing like hemming pants and things like that? So that's the kind of stuff we're looking at. Why? Why does that matter? Because I'm going to go with this like fake business here, because I don't know specifically the details. So let's just say that we have somebody who does sewing for bridal gowns. She does buttons, hems, etc. Okay. My question is, if I went through your QuickBooks or wherever you put all of your stuff, okay, and I tallied up all the wedding dresses we did, and then I tallied up all the random buttons and hemming and fixing holes and all of that, I'm going to look and say, where are we actually making money in this business? Okay. So when I can identify that, that is where my focus goes for this year. So this is what always happens. People want to fix what's broken. So they're like, okay, I get all my money from wedding dresses. However, I really want to start getting more button fixes. Okay. Well, guess what? Like, there might not be that many people that are, I mean, guys, how many of you actually fix buttons? Like, I don't. I usually just like throw them out, like put them in the Goodwill pile. I'm not usually doing that, right? We want to fix the thing that's not working. Go fix or enhance the thing that is working. So that is what I'm saying. Find the bestseller and tell your team, this is our bestseller. And our marketing should look like that, right? If I went to your Instagram, your Facebook, etc., I would be able to look at this and say, oh, this is what they do. Because I want to make sure that if my friend who's getting married, who needs alteration, says, hey, does anybody know of a good wedding bride, like a bride alteration, the gown alteration place? I want to say, oh yeah, you know what? I actually see them over here on Instagram. It's loaded with all of their alterations of wedding dresses. Okay. The problem is we're like, oh, I do this and I do that and I have this and I have that. And then we dilute what's happening, and our customers don't know. Our team doesn't know what to talk about, right? I see my team sometimes fighting over Instagram, who gets to post and what department gets to post and how often, right? But if we can say, hold up, 80% of our content better be our bestseller, right? That's going to really manipulate what is going on there because of what we're trying to do. Okay. All right. So good to hear that. So Caleb said they have a plant shop. Okay. So Caleb, it could even be something where, so I'm actually looking for plants right now. I'm probably going to go to like that easy plant place. You might be like, oh my gosh, don't do it. It's the worst thing ever, but I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking about. So my point is with that, they had a bunch of packages on their website. And I guarantee you their bestseller is like the 3-plant package, where they're literally getting you to buy like the medium, small, desktop, whatever plant package. So my question for you is, like, what are you known for? What do people come in and buy plants for funerals? Do they buy it for their home because they want to, have better purification of the air? Why are they doing it? And you might say, well, there's a million reasons. Yes, but if we documented every single person that walked through your door in 2024 or just in December, what would be the highest? Okay. So many of you are trying to sell everything and sell it all really well. And you really just need to pick one thing and double down. Is this making sense, everybody? Okay. So good. Maggie, this is a good one. How do you plan for things you don't know how to overcome, like summer dip in sales? Okay. So I think a lot of us do, right? A lot of us do have certain things that certain times of year where we do know it's going down. So summer dip sounds like it's an expected dip, right? I have a summer dip in my studios. So I expect it and I pre-plan for it. So in my annual planning, I do not set my goals just divided by 12, because I know July and August are not going to look like every other month. So that's part of planning, right? That is part of saying, okay, well, what did I bring in July and August? And how do I reset my goals when I look at that? So last year specifically, I had goals like January through June. And then I had separate summer goals. And then it was like, okay, we're back September through December. What are these goals? Okay. So I can still plan knowing I usually go off of months and history. So for instance, I was looking at how do I think my January numbers are going to be this year in Well Oiled. So I said to my team, go tell me last January what the numbers were. And they were like, well, it's really hard to know because we're just so much bigger than last year, right? Literally, we're like 4 times the size of what we were doing. So like, it's really hard to even guess. And I was like, no, it's actually not that hard, because this is what I mean. I mean, what happened the last week in December, and then what happened week 1 of January, week 2 of January, week 3 of January, week 4 of January. Okay. And they were like, oh, well, this happened in December. And then we were here. It was consistent. I said, great. So even though we're 4 times bigger, whatever I just hit the first week in January, I'm predicting I'm going to do the same this week and next week and the week after. So I'm using data, old data, to tell me where I think I'm going. Does that make sense? Okay. So definitely be thinking about that. Okay. These are some good questions, you guys. So Caleb says for their home and offices. Okay, amazing. You could literally have like a home package and an office package. And if I walked in your door, Caleb, I'm literally in the market for plants right now. If I walked in your door and you were like, what are you here for? And I said, well, I've literally got I just was on vacation for 2 weeks. I never watered these plants and they're like just dying. I would like to replace them. Okay, I'm replacing like 5 plants. Okay. You could say, well, our best seller, what people typically do for their living room are these 3. Right? So you could start to really be like, wow, people always come in for the home or the office. You could have an office bestseller, right? Home bestseller, etc. Now, maybe they're 50-50. Your Instagram should be loaded with office pictures and home pictures of the bestseller, because you're putting an idea in people's head, right? Did you know that, your office should have at least 2 plants for every whatever square footage because of whatever reasons, right? I always think of like purification and things like that, right? Like, why do people have plants? Or the look of it, right? So I would be educating based off of that. So people think of you when they think plants for my office or plants for my home. All right. I love it. Okay. Okay. Professional organizer and interior decorator here. And our bestseller is when we help people move. I love it. We declutter, downsize, pack, unpack, move it. Okay. This is so good. So first of all, that is a very different person. Like if I heard professional organizer, my first thought is, oh, she cleans closets. That's probably what a lot of us are thinking. But she's like, oh, no. We help you move, right? So now anytime I have somebody that's moving, who am I thinking of, right? I'm thinking of her company, because I'm like, oh, they specialize in this. Don't just use any moving company, right? She actually specializes in people decluttering before they move, right? That's the kind of stuff you want to think about. Now, when you tell your team this, when you show it off on your social media platforms, you're going to attract more of those people. So our annual planning is just going to get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. Okay. Jenny, I'm in the jewelry business and tastes change from year to year. I have to stay flexible. Okay. This is really good. So Jenny, what do you think when you say taste change? What are you really known for? Are you like the necklace place, the earrings place, the bracelets place? Are you saying that something could be more trendy? Like earrings could be trendy, so then you're selling earrings that year? Or I'm just curious, okay? So something to consider. Now, another thing you could be thinking about, Jenny, is dollar amount. You could be specializing in a specific amount of whatever, right? So let's just say your bestseller is like a package of something that costs more than $100, right? So that might actually help you assess. Don't put something cheap and little on our Instagram. I want all of our beautiful pieces that range between 100 and 200. I interviewed Rebecca Minkoff. She's like a purse company, handbag company. They used to have like watches and all of these things, okay? But they really downsized and went back to the purse, because what's funny is she was known for these handbags, right? And then all of a sudden she started adding watches and different things and all of this stuff, right? And what happens is you start to dilute the brand, and she went back to the bestseller. But I think what she told me on the podcast was that she said, we realize, I'm making this up, please do not quote me, but I think she said it was the handbags that range between 300 and 500 or something like that were like the go-to, what people really bought. So even though she had things available for way more or way less, she was like, that was what we were focused on, because that's what people thought of us, wanted from us, etc. Okay. So it's going to change the way that you are showing off and marketing this entire year. All right. So good. Okay, True Health. We sell stem cells and treat different body parts. It seems like our best seller is pain relief. So pain relief is the solution, but I would love to know, where do people get stem cells? What is the part of the body that has the pain, the most common, that people think of when they think of stem cells? Does that make sense? So go one step back. Is it when they have back pain? I don't know anything about this. So is it back pain? Okay, perfect. Knees, back, shoulders. Okay. So for me, what I would be doing with that is I would probably be talking, and now look, knees, back, shoulders. I would go through and I would actually look at the last 30 days of clients and write down which one. Okay. Because you would be surprised. You might go, oh, knees was only 15% and back and shoulders was, and then have a different number. So get the really, really big ones, right? Because if let's say back is 80% of your clients, it should be 80% of the platform that you're promoting on, right? And then you sprinkle knees in and you sprinkle shoulders in. Okay, so good, you guys. I teach adults how to teach kids to read. I'm having a hard time identifying. So Wendy, how do you teach them how to read? Is there like an 8-week program? Is there like, what are they buying, right? And if you're like, well, I can teach them in 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks. I know, but which is the one that you're like, this is what they really like? If I'm diagnosing this and giving them the criteria of what we're going to do, this is where I'm heading. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. This is a good one. So Social Red just said, what if my bestseller is not the highest profit margin? Should I focus on the highest profit margin product or service? Thank you for saying this. Okay. So number one, it is really good to see what it is. Okay. So get your numbers, get your data. Now, you might have other ones that are way more profitable. My question is, if you started to shift your focus to one of the other ones, could it truly surpass? Okay. So let's say, just to use myself as an example, if I was teaching private music lessons and that was my bestseller, and I got this idea to do a group class and put 5 kids in a class instead of 1. Okay. My question is, could I start putting a little bit more time and energy into the group? Okay. That it starts to outweigh the private. Now I might start putting energy into it and I'm like, man, I just can't sell this thing. I'm not going to focus on something that is very, very profitable, but not working or selling or hard to retain or hard to get people. Does that make sense? I'm going to make sure I like, let's say there's in the bestseller, there's 10% profit margin, but this one's 15. But if it's this much revenue and this much revenue, it doesn't make sense to go here unless we can outweigh it. Okay. So there might be some testing, okay, that you're going to have to do. Just be careful, because we had somebody last year say to me, so I have a bestseller. It's doing great. It was so good. I had the second product. So I just, I started putting more time on the second product, and, the bestseller is going down. I'm like, right. So that's going to happen. If you leave the bestseller and start working on the second one, okay, if you start working on the second one, all of a sudden what's going to happen is, you might start shrinking over here and you're barely getting this thing off the ground. So I always say, put somebody in charge of the bestseller. Your bestseller is your baby. Who is like the parent, right? So we have 2 programs. We have Well-Oiled Operations and we have Powerhouse, which is our $1 million mastermind. Okay. So we have somebody in charge of Powerhouse and somebody in charge of Well-Oiled, because sometimes, right, Well-Oiled is a lot larger than Powerhouse. Sometimes we can just naturally forget about something with Powerhouse, but we have somebody who owns it, who's going to fight for it and say, hey, Stacy, we need to be doing this over here, right? So get somebody in charge. Okay. So good, you guys. So tomorrow is going to be an on-demand training. What that means is I think they drop it at like 9 a.m. or something like that Central. What that means is once it drops, you'll get an email if you're on our email list. And what's going to happen is you're just able to watch it at any time. And I'm going to go in depth in that training. And then if you write down your questions, because next week, Wednesday, when I'm back, come back with your questions from tomorrow's training. Gives you time to like sit, actually try to implement. Once you implement, right? Once you implement, that's when the questions are going to pop up, because you're going to be like, wait, I don't know how to do this part. come back to me. I purposely put 9 weeks of live coaching in here so you didn't get stuck, okay? All right. I have a few more minutes before I have to run. I'm going to answer a few more questions. Okay. Lisa, I have a unique situation because I lead a nonprofit. Our best-selling item needs to be directed to donors and funders. Are we selling the benefits and opportunity to engage? Okay, so Lisa, we have served many nonprofits, and I always tell them, like the nonprofits that do really well with us, just pretend they're a business, okay? And those people that do, if they just literally have the business hat on, scale very quickly. So with the nonprofits that I've worked with, right, they all are different. But we looked at specifically, what are they trying to get, right? So I remember one nonprofit specifically had like a monthly recurring donation amount, right? So you could give one-off donations, or you could sign up for $10 a month or $20 a month or whatever it is, right? So she ended up deciding her bestseller, I think, was like a $25 per month donation. And with it, they got something. But she was selling the $25 per month recurring subscription, okay? So she used that as like her product. I hope that makes sense. I will say too, a different nonprofit that I can think of, they would, it's such a cool nonprofit. It's called Beverly's Angels. And she used to just like accept anything you would give her for underprivileged kids who needed sometimes just backpack and underwear and bedding and things like that. And she used to do everything. And she all of a sudden came back like a year later and said, actually, I don't quote me on this either, but I think she's like, we actually only do pajamas and underwear and like socks. And I was like, oh, and she's like, those are our best sellers. Why? Because her inventory was getting so out of control, right, that she scaled it back, and it really helped her scale the business as well. Okay. What is the best way to scale a handyman business? I really think over these 9 weeks, like it's first of all, well-oiled operations helps you scale. It's the plan, the people, the process. We're going to cover all of that over 9 weeks together. Lisa, you are welcome. Okay. Jenny, what I've been known for has been phasing out of fashion. I've been designing new products and then still testing designs to become, yeah. Okay. So if your bestseller is literally fading, you obviously do what you can to keep getting money from it. But what Jenny is saying is completely right. You are literally testing something new until it takes over and you get that new bestseller to come in there. Okay. I love it. All right. I'm going to take one more question. Yeah. And if you subscribe, that is going to be a good way. Put the notifications on. It'll tell you when I'm live, so that some of you were like, it was kind of delayed for me. If you're signed up for notifications, that's going to help you get hit with, hey, Stacy's live. And then you're going to know each time we go. All right. Our bestseller has been helping recruit for Japanese companies in LA, but we've been getting a lot of order cancellations. Okay. So Mina, anytime all of a sudden you're starting to get an objection, you have to really ask yourself, what is the reason? How can I overcome that objection? So if all of a sudden we're getting order cancellations because of this, what can I do to get ahead of that? Right? And maybe that's before the sale even happens, because order cancellations means they've already done it and now they're canceling. So what can you already do to reframe them, to set them up so that they understand what's going on before, right? And then what is the reason they should still do it anyway? And what I would do is I would be really setting up my script of what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it in an email. And if it's not just me that sells, I'm going to train the rest of my team to say it the exact same way, so we all can really make sure that that objection goes away. We all, every one of us has an objection why people do not buy. Okay. I have probably like 4 to 5 I hear all week, every week. Okay. My team is trained in those 4 to 5. We know why. That should not be a reason you do not buy. Okay. If you don't know what yours are, that means your team or you are just basically throwing out random replies, and you don't want that. You want to be very, very specific on how to do that. Okay. All right. If you have not actually signed up for the 9-week free course, The Ultimate Profit Plan, and you want to be, just go to my Instagram and DM me at Stacy Tuschl, the word transform. My team will get you registered. So you're on the email list. You won't miss anything. And we'll make sure that you've got all of the details on all of these. Okay, Nicole, I think it will permanently stay up here. So as soon as I hang up, this video doesn't leave. It's just going to be sitting right here. And then Bella, if we can make sure like maybe all of these are in some sort of playlist together for 9 weeks, that would be amazing. All right. Oh, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. If you guys need anything in the meantime, DM us at Stacy Tuschl on Instagram. And then feel free to check out some of these other videos while you're waiting. But tomorrow is the day. So we drop our first training, and I encourage you to find somebody in your team to do it with you, because you need accountability. So use them, right? Have them help hold you accountable and get them excited. So if you haven't watched our annual planning video, I would head to that one next. Okay. All right, guys, you're so welcome. I will see you live next week, but you'll see me tomorrow morning in your email inbox with video 1 dropping. Bye, everybody.